What is up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome to the first ever episode of our Dead to Me after show. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2, Pilot, and Maybe I'm Crazy. We're talking Jen, we're talking Judy, and we're talking lots and lots of secrets. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What is up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome to the first ever Dead to Me after show. I am so excited. I literally am obsessed with the show. I've watched it twice, all the way through, and it came out 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
You know it's good when that happens. I'm so excited to be joined by two lovely panelists today. First, we have Anais.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited. Yay.
So excited to have you here. And Mia.
Hi.
Your first ever AfterBuzz show.
It's my first ever show. I'm so excited.
I'm
you
so
guys
excited.
Are great, so it's going to be good.
It's going to be amazing. This show it's going to start off with a bang, I think, your AfterBuzz career. Because, this show definitely, I think, started with a bang. I think the writing on the show is so phenomenal. I think that's so evident, even from the first moment. Before we really dive into the sort of nitty gritty of the plot, I want to know what your guys' overall thoughts these first two episodes are. What sort of drew you to the show? What's keeping you watching? What made you want to, talk about this on this podcast? What's really sucking you in about this?
Well, I'll say, I knew it was going down when Karen brought over Mexican lasagna.
Yes.
I was just like, okay, that's how we're starting. This is going to be wild. But yeah, I thought it was great. It was really giving me grown up, Laguna Beach, Big Little Lies.
Yeah.
Simple Favor vibes. And I'm a happy-go-lucky person, but I love a dark sort of show. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I also like dark humor and everything, and I just love, Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate, and then finding out that Will Ferrell was involved as well. I'm like, okay, I have to watch it. And I kind of do the subject matter interested me too, so, it was intriguing. But I'm really happy they made this show, because I feel like that was something that's kind of, heavy, dealing with grief, and you would think maybe a show like this would be kind of boring, or sad, not boring, but sad, but they have a lot of humor and funny moments, so it's a really nice balance.
I agree with both of you. It's I feel like would be such a hard topic to sort of sell on paper, but it works so well. I was definitely picking up Big Little Lies vibes. Mm-hmm. If any of you have watched the show, I'm sorry for your loss on Facebook Watch. That definitely felt familiar as well. The stylization of it is beautiful.
Oh, the shots are amazing.
It's so gorgeous. The acting is just phenomenal. There's so many ways that you should just absolutely hate Judy, and you don't, because Linda Cardellini is so great, and she and Christina Applegate play off each other so well. So I'm very, very excited to cover this season in the show with you guys. Let's start off by talking about the first scene, because I think it's just such an amazing introduction to Jen's character with, you kind of touched on before, the Mexican lasagna and Karen. I think it just showed so much how she is not your sort of typical Laguna Beach mom in certain ways, especially since she's been through this really horrific event and all of this trauma. And I love how that sort of manifests itself in this interaction with Karen. What did you guys think of that scene?
Christina Applegate is such a powerhouse, and I feel like it really shines through in Jen as a character. And you can just tell, right off the bat, she doesn't play games. She'll entertain it a little bit. She was like, all right, Karen. She was nodding her head. She was like, that's fine. And then she shut the door in her face, and I was like, oh, my goodness. Mm-hmm. I love it already. Yeah.
And I thought it was a really good start, because, I had mentioned how it's kind of a depressing subject matter, but it started off with kind of a funny scene, kind of letting you know, okay, there's gonna be some humor in this show. It's kind of easing you into it. So, and it was just a really good scene.
And it's relatable too. I just feel like when someone passes away, typically what you do is bring food, and so you immediately identify with it if it's happened to you in some sort of way. So I think that was a really good way to connect.
Yeah, and they subvert it so much. You expect her to be crying or hugging or saying thank you so much, but she's just she's telling it like it is. You're right. She doesn't play games, and I love that, and it adds so much to the dark humor of it. So kind of in Jen's little world, before we're introduced to, the other characters in Judy and all of that, we meet her and her 2 children. So she has 2 young sons, Charlie and Henry, and they both are also dealing with grief in very different ways. Charlie is definitely lashing out and sort of, I think, is very similar to Jen in a lot of ways. Like, I love how he called the other dad, like, a twat waffle during dinner. Like, that's incredible. And Jen doesn't even correct him because she's just like, you know what? Like, he's right. I'll give him this one. I thought that was so funny. And Henry is just such a sweetheart. Like, he doesn't want to leave her alone. You can tell that he's concerned. But I just want to get your thoughts on sort of their whole family dynamic as well.
I just think it's like, pretty, I guess, realistic with like the rebellious teen and everything. And I do love the names Charlie and Henry. Those are some of my favorite like guy names. I know they're very like British, but I just love British guys. But yeah, and then I also, like you said, I love like how concerned Henry's the shorter, younger one. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It was really sweet. So I just I'm excited to see like how. They're gonna change and evolve throughout the show. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the rest of it, just to let you know. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, so it'll be fun.
Me and I have seen the whole thing, like we said. I've seen it twice, but we're definitely going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. So if you guys are watching our podcast, like, along with watching the show, we're gonna try to keep it very, very spoiler-free for you guys, so don't worry about that. It was nice, though, because you could tell Jen is struggling. I mean, she's crying on the toilet, so, that tells you something is very wrong. Christina Applegate, she killed it though. Oh my gosh, she's so good. But I think the show really starts to really like pick up steam, and you kind of understand what the show is during the grief group scene. In the grief group scene, Jen still has her sort of, front up in this defensive sort of angry humor. But then we meet someone who's very unlike her, and that's Judy. And we meet them during the scene where Jen's getting the coffee, and Judy kind of jokes, "Oh, I made that. Like, why are you insulting me?" What did you think of Judy's introduction?
Oh my gosh, I thought it was so funny with the coffee when she came up. And the first thing I noticed too, always in shows, is like costume. And Judy's like in all black, and she's just fabulous and fierce. And then Judy comes along in stripes, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I just think so much of the show, and especially just like themes going back to like Henry and Charlie too, it's just grief just plays out in so many different ways depending on who you are and what type of grief it is and loss it is. And so you see like this kind of like day and night and like dark and light, and they play off each other very well. And I think that they complement each other, and then it's very important. And you see it off the back, like you already know like who they're gonna be almost from the very first moment they meet, which is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I definitely noticed like just right from the start, like okay, she's very more like free spirit and everything, just like from the wardrobe, her just like her sense of humor and everything. And it's like, okay, let me see how these characters get along. And that's one of the things I do like about the show, is that how they showed how people deal with grief in different ways. Some deal with it quicker than others, and it's kind of, I hope it makes people just be more understanding just with other people in general, because I'm more of a, I take a long time to deal with my grief, and I've had people like give me a hard time about it. So just, some people get over things quicker than others. So hopefully, it makes people think about that a little bit more. So I like that.
And I will say too, you know the saying like opposites attract.
Yeah.
So clearly like you see them and you're like, they're so different, but how do they become best friends? Like how do they get along? And I think like that kind of layer, they're both very sarcastic, and they kind of like they have dry humor. So I feel like they get along, they have fun with each other, which is also super refreshing to see too.
And the show that, what's the name of the show that they like bond?
It's oh yeah, Life in Pieces.
No, the one that they're
my gosh, on
Life in gosh,
it was on Nick at Night.
Yes,
with Judy and Joe and Blair and Facts of Life. Right?
Facts of Life. Life in Pieces. I was like, I knew there's a life in there somewhere.
So and also that's the other thing I noticed too. It kind of shows you like no matter, because they have an example of this in the second episode too. I'll talk about it later, but like you can be very different. You have two very different people, but I feel like the more you get to know somebody, eventually you're gonna find a commonality. So
I need to know
that's
their
something just to
birthdays.
take in life.
I want to know their signs.
Their signs?
I'm all in the horoscopes. I'm
The
like, she must be an
cookies?
Aquarius rising moon girl.
They
I
also
don't know.
like the Entenmann's cookies. So
Yeah,
cookies,
the
facts of
cookies.
life, bringing people together. So
Yeah.
It's so great, and I agree with you. I like this, like, very specific things that they bond over. I love this sort of, the fact that, like, pop culture and, like, their sarcasm and sense of humor is the thing that binds them, because, yeah, on paper, these two should never work. Like, they're completely different, but it is that commonality and finding that common ground. And the fact that grief, you know, just is having such a huge losses in your life. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to understand that unless they've also gone through it. So I think that, you know, having that sadness as a sort of uniting factor is really just such an interesting topic and just such a cool thing to sort of build a show around. And having a female friendship, I think, is so incredible. Like, I am just obsessed with it. Feels so authentic to me.
It does.
And the fact that you can get these two, you know, female characters, and they're obviously very flawed, like, very flawed.
Very.
But still so, like, you care about them so much, and they feel real, and they don't feel like caricatures, I thought was just so cool and so refreshing, because I don't think there is a lot of shows who are writing females and female friendships this well and, like, this refreshing, to me at least. But let's dive in a little bit more to the things that they do together. Obviously, they have the watching TV moments, which is some of my favorite scenes. And then Jen shows Judy her form of therapy, which is the screamo
loved
music
it.
in the car. Were you guys surprised by this choice, or were you like, oh yeah, that's Jen?
no, I'm not surprised because that's what I do. I literally do that same thing. So I'm like, that is my girl. When I get mad or sad, I will blast heavy metal. Like, I don't care if anyone, but the windows are down. Like, I want people to hear my pain. So I go a little further. So I've actually done that. So I was like, yes, I love her even more. So
The acting was just flawless. I think especially here is when you see how just, gosh, she's so good. Christina Applegate's so good. Because, you know, like, you hear the music, and when it cuts to that scene, you think she's going to be, like, jamming, like, headbanging, like, windows down, like you said, but she's just so, like, subdued.
in it.
She's like, yeah. And it's, like, screamo music, and she's just like,
And then I just
and I'm
love,
this is
like,
hilarious.
Judy's just, like, staring at her, like, just her, like, it's so
She's, like, a little
funny.
scared of her.
She's like trying to be supportive, like you can see her do like the house when she's like, like she's trying to be like, yeah, this is great, like love this.
Yeah.
Relatable.
So funny. And I also love it when they go just like smoke weed on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is just, I love it. Like they can just
Yum.
be relaxed for like a hot second and, you know, kind of give each other crap back and forth, which is great. It just it shows like their sarcastic nature again, which is just really beautiful and really fun to see. Unfortunately, you know, it isn't all just flowers and rainbows, because you know, Judy's obviously going over to Jen's house a lot, and they're using her beautiful backyard, by the way. The real estate in the show and the
I
costuming.
want to live in all the houses.
It's just incredible. It's just obsessed with it.
So good.
But we finally get Jen going over to Judy's house based on the picture that they exchange pictures of their husbands. And so she goes over to that house, and it turns out that Steve is very much alive and not dead at all. What was your guys' reactions to that?
Well, first of all, James Marsden opened the door,
Incredible.
and I was shook. Okay, like I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know he was in this until he opened the door, and I was like, I love him. Number one, love him. But then also, I just was like,
Oh,
Judy.
snap.
Judy girl, why'd you gonna do that? That's
Yeah.
so. The first thing I thought of was Jen, because I was like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen? Like she's gonna find out, and to like, I don't know, to let someone going through that, and they just on the beach they had a conversation, and Jen was like, you know, it's so hard to go through this because. And relate to somebody, because most people come to you and they say the wrong things, or they don't know how to relate to you, and it's just awkward. And she's like, I like that we don't have to try. And then she has someone, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be taken away. It's just a lot for me.
I was definitely surprised. I did not see that coming. I knew Jason Marsden was in the show, but I didn't know, like, I mean, I thought his character said, obviously because of the picture earlier, but yeah, so I was just really surprised. I'm like, oh shoot, you screwed up, girl, because if you had done to me, I definitely would not be happy. So
Yeah, I think they pulled off that twist so well, because you didn't see it coming. I mean, I think that everyone like was fully in it, like, oh yeah, like poor Judy. And then the fact that they kind of twist it on its head there was insane. And I love how Jen's revenge is like, well, let me sell your house then and get you away from the stalker. I'm like, this is a career woman, and I appreciate the boss move.
Yes, get the job done, girl. But also, who opens I realized this. I was like, what time period is this? Who opens the door to a stranger at that? I mean, that had to be late.
Yeah, did he even look through the peephole?
I don't know,
Maybe
but
he
I
has
was
one
like,
of those
huh?
like cameras.
Oh, that's true. He probably does.
I mean, that
That's
house is so
insane.
nice. He should have a camera.
That's a very good
And he's
point.
probably like, oh, he should only look that dangerous. Okay, you know.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But wow, like what a twist, you guys. And so I feel like everyone is like immediately team Jen then, obviously. And so when she storms into the group therapy again and she starts screaming at Judy, I mean, you're kind of on her side, I think. It's very easy to be on her side. And I don't know, at least for me, I was thinking from like a writing standpoint and from like an acting standpoint, I was like, how are you gonna get the audience like back on this character's side? Because that's like a pretty major thing to lie about. And then they go into the fact that Judy's actually has experienced a lot of loss in the form of miscarriages. Not only did Steve break up with her, but he broke up with her after she's had her 5th miscarriage, which is so sad. And I think that Linda Cardellini played that scene just so well, and I feel like you could feel her hurt so much. And so I at least was immediately like, okay, I trust her again. Did it take you guys a second, or were you on her side immediately again?
I would say it took a second, but also I think in that moment, I think like the first bits of realizing that Judy has, like you said, these characters are flawed, but she has good in her because she wasn't embarrassed. It didn't seem like in the slightest. Like she could have been like, oh my god, why are you doing this here? Like, what's going? She was just like, Judy, are you okay? I'm so sorry. Like, I want to make things right with you. That's all she cared about. And so you can tell in the moment she was a good friend. So yeah, it wasn't too hard for me to get back on her side.
That's so true. She's not defensive. She's just like, you know what? You're right. I messed up. And that, I think you're so right. That is such an important part of her character. Like, she owns up to it.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I agree. That definitely helped. Like, she realized she was wrong. She, that's what you should do. You're trying to apologize and everything. And, yeah, when I found out about the miscarriages, I did start feeling bad for her. The only thing in the back of my mind, I'm just like, I hope she's not lying about this too. Because now once you've already burned somebody once, if you burn me once, I'm going to be a little bit suspicious. So that's the only thing I'm like, please don't lie about this too. Because if I find out you were lying about this, so as far as I know, she wasn't lying because of episode 2. So
and everybody in the group was on Judy's side.
I was just gonna say,
girl, she was like,
Carol,
yeah, Carol.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, Carol. And then everybody else was like, give her a chance to talk. Like, this woman's hurt,
Well, yeah, I do agree with that issue. Like, both sides should be able to, like, give their side of the story. So I was kind of like, it was nice that, like, they were trying to, like, they were there to kind of calm Jen down. Because I understand she's mad, but also give her a chance to explain, I think that's important just in life, hear the other person out, because then you find out why she did that. And she did experience loss. She didn't experience the loss that she had said originally, but 5 miscarriages, that's pretty bad. So yeah, she did deserve to be in the group.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I like that we do get Jen. She comes around, like,
and then
sort
she
of
apologizes
quickly
to her for like saying like, oh, I'm sorry that I said you didn't deserve to be there. So they both apologize. So
yeah, for sure. And I love how we get Jen, like, specifically helping her with, like, the fact of the actual miscarriage, because Judy's sort of like, oh, I don't know if I, do deserve to be here. Like, I don't know if it is as big as loss. And she's like, I think it is, because you fell in love with that heartbeat. And I thought that was just a really beautiful moment.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because not only does the show deal with, grief and being a widow, I think that it's very underrepresented on television to see women who are dealing with, having trouble getting pregnant or miscarriages. And so I love that they wrote that into her character as well, and we see her sort of healing through that in a really, like, organic way throughout the series too, which is great. However, that's not the only secret that Judy's been keeping. We find out at the end of this episode.
I almost forgot.
We get the big reveal that she has a person-sized dent in her car that Jen has been looking for. So we are to assume that she's likely the one that killed Ted. Where was your head at when you saw this big reveal?
where we are now.
Yeah, I was
100%
like, no,
speechless.
like, Judy, you just got me on your side. And not that I hate you now, but it's just like, no, like, Judy, no, why? Why did it have to be you? Because, you know, it's like, maybe it's not her. Maybe it's like a coincidence, but it's like, why else would it be there?
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang. So, yeah.
I will say this. I was more surprised at the dent than I was when I found out, like, Steve was alive. Just because of her behavior, kind of when they were on the phone. Like, Judy is a good listener, and Jen really just talked the entire time. I remember when I watched it back a second time, like, you see the clock on her bed table, and it's literally like they start talking at 12 a.m. and then the conversation ends at 2, and then she's like, show me a picture of Steve. Like, I think Jen is going through a lot, so she's very in her head, and you know, she has this outlet where she can talk to someone about it, but you know, Judy, like, doesn't really, you know, at that point it's kind of hard.
And I mean, you can tell that, like, Judy's more of the listener, because in the group, the guy was like, didn't you know that?
Yeah.
You know, and she's like, oh, yeah, I was talking the whole time. I never actually got to know Judy that much, just, you know, exchange pictures of our husbands or fiance or whatever. But
I think that's such a good point, because they bring out different parts of each other too, because I think Judy is usually the sort of like more open one, I would say, and so she is like a very good listener for Jen. But Jen finally falls asleep, like when they're on the phone, and she's like, can you stay on the line with me until I fall asleep, which is something that I don't think she's been able to do for months now.
Yeah,
and so the fact that Judy has that comforting presence with her, I think, is just like really cool, and shows the like nature of their relationship. Like, they, you know, bring out those different sides of each other, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Before I move on to episode 2, there's actually a lot of really, really cool stuff happening here at AfterBuzz. Mia, can you tell us?
So cool. Yes, guys, before we move on to our next topic, we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. It's so cool what we get to do here, and especially it's my first time.
Yes.
Just so fun. But we really want to continue to grow, and we would love your help. So if you're on YouTube right now, which I hope you are, make sure to hit that thumbs up, give us a like, hit the subscribe button, come back every week. And if you're on iTunes, give us 5 stars, which would be pretty awesome. We love a 5-pointed star.
The
You know
other
what
ones
I mean?
don't work.
Yeah.
You can't push them.
Yeah. But no matter where you are, leave a comment. We love engagement. I love engagement personally too. Like, I think it's the heartbeat of a show, you know? Just talking to each other. That's what we do. We're talking about TV. So leave a comment. Tell us what you think. And yeah, it's meant so much to all of us just to be here, and we support you and you support us, and it's just so much fun. So yeah. Thanks.
Yes.
We're going to keep enjoying the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mia. Let's move on to episode 2, because the plot just keeps on thickening. So we get Jen's children again, which is great, but now they're in sort of a different situation because Judy is there. And I think pretty predictably, Charlie is not the most thrilled about this. I love the fact that he brings up the fact that Jen's not so much of an excellent judge of character because of the babysitter they had that like stole money and was on drugs, which is so funny. And that's another part of that dark humor, because she's like, oh yeah, she's dead now.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, incredible. But I do love the fact that throughout this episode, we do see Judy also starting to bring out a different side of Charlie in a way, kind of like she does with Jen. Charlie is very closed off and sort of cold towards her, but then, you know, Judy kind of sort of, you know, has that banter with him as well, and shows that she actually does care about him and what he has to say. What do you think about their relationship? Because it does feel a little bit, you know, either friendly or maternal in certain ways too.
I love that scene with them, because it also had kind of what I was talking about in the last episode, how, like, you know, to people that maybe, like, they don't like each other, or maybe they might not get along, they found a commonality: pizza and weed. Okay, so that's the key. You talk to someone, you think you're not gonna get along with them, but you know, try to find out. There's got to be at least 1 or 2 things you guys have in common, and then you can be friends. So yeah, and I was really happy that, like, finally he kind of started to warm up to her, because I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't, like, hate her the whole time, and he's like, oh, like, all mad the whole series. So I'm like, yeah, and I just thought it was like a very well acted scene between both of them. So
It was good. I would say I took more interest for me personally in the relationship, like the mom and son relationship with, like, Jen and Charlie, just because that's always fascinating to see how people, like, raise their kids, you know? And, like, my parents are like, we don't talk back in this house. So, like, I love that she's from Brooklyn, like she said that in the first episode, and, like, she was not just, like, feel your grief however you want. Like, you can walk all over me. She was, like, pushing back. And, like, I was like, that's really, like, fun that they can, like you said, have this banter. But at the same time, she did, like, without saying it, is like, she knows he's going through a lot, and she's going to let him, like, be angry and kind of deal with it how he needs to and say what he needs to. But at the same time, she's not just going to be, like, a total, like, floorboard of a mom, which I thought was, like, pretty interesting. But, yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's so interesting to see, you know, how they do sort of interact and how that string of, like, sarcasm and sort of putting up walls, like, definitely runs in that family. You can see, you know, passing on from mother to son. And I don't want to give too much away spoiler-wise, but we don't ever actually see flashbacks of Ted in this season. And so I would be really curious maybe in season 2, because I'm sure they're going to be renewed. I would be really interested in, like, the whole family dynamic through sort of flashbacks in that way, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah, I wonder I was wondering if maybe Ted, like, oh my god, Charlie? No, Henry's the younger one. Henry is more like the dad. Like, if the dad was more like him, because he's a little sweeter, and Charlie is more like Jen, because, you know, we don't know much about Ted yet. I mean, at least I don't.
I think that's a super fair assumption, and maybe season
I'm like,
2.
where did they get those traits from?
And he seemed to be a good dad too, because he played the game with them. I remember at one point during dinner, he was like, "I miss Dad. He needs to make dinner. Like, I miss his food and all of that stuff." So.
He seems like, you know, very loved. So obviously he seemed like a very good, you know, good man, and such a loss, you know, because he's like, why did our dad have to die? You know, why not the twat waffles? You know, he was not a twat waffle. So.
Absolutely. And I think that it makes sense that Jen does have a hard time, especially going into that guest house, because there is so much of Ted in there with his, you know, musical instruments and things like that. But at the same time, it's very hard for Judy to sort of adapt to an environment like that. Not only is that sort of uncomfortable all around, but I mean, the fact that she was involved in this murder
exactly
also definitely does not help the matter at all.
Oh my god.
I thought the scene where she was like, yeah, I'm fine, and like smiling and like crying at the same time, I was like, she is such a good actress. I mean, we keep reiterating that, but just to be able to pull off those two conflicting emotions at once was so just incredible to me. What were you guys' thoughts about her like walking into that guest house and having to see all of the, you know, mementos of what he left behind?
That's so heavy.
Yeah.
And I remember she was like shaking, not even like physically. Like, she just was like, oh my god, ooh, like eerie, like this is so weird. And then I think it really settled in, and I think we really got to see that sweet side of Judy again, where like she like actually does feel, because I feel like a sociopath would walk in and be like,
yeah, who cares?
Got one over, like I'm living here for free now, you know? But she was like actually like, oh, this is like really disturbing.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, this man isn't here because of me, basically, like, yeah.
And the sage. Was
oh my
sage?
gosh. Yeah, I think so.
Whatever it was.
I love Jen just like looking through the window and being like, what did I do? Like, what is happening here? So funny. Like, of course, that would be like, that's like their entire brands right there. Is her just like staring and be like, what? And Judy just like having the music playing, like dancing around. I thought it was so good. I do like that Jen finally does get the courage to sort of go in there and does want to sort of clean it up for Judy. I thought that scene was really impactful, and we do get to see more of the interaction with her sons. I loved, and we are introduced to the gun as well, which, I mean, you know the old saying, like, if you introduce a gun, like, it's gonna have to become important. And so I was like, ooh, like, I was cringing a little. I was like, this is gonna lead somewhere. You just know it is eventually. But not yet. Basically, all that happened was Charlie saying that he wanted to take it. Jen
He's the man of the house now.
Yes, I loved that scene. I wanted to kind of bring up the language in that, too, because it was like, yeah, I'm the man of the house. And I love how Jen just shut him down.
Me too. I'm like, yes.
She
She's
was like,
you're
not
a
the
child.
patriarchy.
You know, I'm the adult.
I'm the woman of the house.
Yes.
That is right, Jen. Yes, you are. But I do love the fact that Charlie kind of just played her because he wanted the drums the whole time. I was like, that is such, like, Charlie acts like he's this adult, but like that's such a child move, and I really appreciated it.
He's a smart cookie.
Yeah, he hustled her so hard, which I thought was hysterical.
But at least she realized it right away, like, oh shoot, I just got played. That's okay.
Like, she's so smart too. She's like, oh, we're gonna be hearing those drums for a lot of nights.
Yeah.
I just want to say shout out to somebody from Brooklyn, I guess. They gave Brooklyn a thumbs up, and they said, Brooklyn, yay. And then, for some reason, I can't see the name right now, but somebody said that they just binge watched the season, and they just happened to come across this panel.
Amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Stick
yeah,
around.
thank
Share
you.
your thoughts. Leave a comment. Like, it's such a good show, and there's so much to sort of dissect, I feel like, with the show, because
So many themes.
yes, so many themes, so many little Easter eggs and little foreshadowing. I watched it twice, and so watching it the second time, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I should have known.
That face,
it's
the faces they make.
crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's so crazy. It's so good. I thought it was really, really interesting, the fact that we were sort of focusing on how there was so much Ted in the guest house, and then we have the opposite sort of happening when Jen goes to sell Steve's house, because there's, like, barely any Judy in there. So I thought that was really cool juxtaposition. But let's talk a little bit more about that, because Judy is not doing well with Steve's decision. She's, slicing her hand open by accident. She's having a rough go of it. What did you guys think about that entire sort of situation that was going on? Like, are you team Jen? Are you feeling bad for Judy in this situation?
I mean, I do feel bad for Judy, but I don't condone what she did. It's understandable to be upset, but yeah, like, just kind of the light stalking that she was doing.
Light stalking.
Not good. But I do want to say, just real quick, because I don't know how much time we have, but I really like the blanket. She got the blanket.
Yes.
Jen got the blanket for Judy. That was such a sweet moment. And it showed that Jen has, like, a softer side. She's not, like, all harsh and mean and everything. So, yeah, but what about you?
It's hard because, I mean, they just met, right? So at first I was like, how are you going to do that? This is your girl, and you're really going to sell her ex's house. Like, that's so messed up. Then I'm like, okay, she's probably a little on edge. Like, she trusts Judy, but, like, how much does he trust her? And, like, she's gotten some warnings, so maybe she has some thoughts floating in the back of her head. You never know. So, it's that one's tough for me. That one's tough. I can see both of their sides on that one. I think, yeah.
Absolutely. I do love the fact that we also get introduced to a new really cool character, or I don't remember if he was introduced in the pilot, but we get more of Abe, who's, like, the best character in my opinion. He's so wonderful.
Pure light.
I love it. I love seeing his relationship with Judy, because he's, in a way, one of the only people that Judy really has, and I feel like he was probably pretty integral, when she was going through everything with Steve. Even if Abe didn't know, everything that was going on, the fact that he was just so supportive and really cares for Judy, it was really, really lovely, and something that Judy really needs. And he's so sassy and fun, too. Like, he wants the dating profile, which I think is just the cutest thing ever.
Yeah. Like, oh.
I think Abe is just, like, the absolute bomb. I want a spin-off. Come on. Abe spin-off.
Oh, yes. I want an Abe t-shirt.
Wait.
Can we
yes.
make these?
You guys, if
We need to
anyone
make them. We need to make them.
wants to design it, we will all buy one. Just to let you guys know, we have 3 customers right here. Someone make an Abe t-shirt. I am begging you. And then finally, the other sort of plotline that was, rolling through this episode was Jen and the yellow car. So the yellow car is speeding along the road she's jogging on, and Jen is fearlessly sort of calling them out, yelling at them. I just love her rage. Like, I love that Jen gets to be so enraged, and we're, like, on her side for it. We're like, you know what? You deserve to do this.
Yeah.
I'm Team Jen here. And then, of course, we see her eventually smash it with a golf club.
Which I loved. I was like, yes, girl, because there's some people that I wish, that could happen to. Not to them, their card, but I live downtown, so I encounter lots of people like that.
Yes.
We'll send Jen after him.
And people who keep speeding all the time, come on, stop. So that was very cathartic for me to watch, because I'm like, yes, like, it's something
like living through her.
Yeah, living through her, because I don't want to go to jail, but I was definitely cheering her on when that happened. So I love Jen. She's very a cathartic character.
And I would say cinematically for me, I just loved that scene because it was all in wide shot when she finally confronted the car. Like, the first time you see it, the car is driving this way and, like, Jen's facing the camera, and then the second time, it's so far away, all we see is them yelling in the car, like, speeding and then reversing after she throws a rock, and she's, like, screaming at him. Like, have you ever done that in a car when you're kind of mad at someone and you're like, what dude?
Yeah.
And then, like, they slow down and you're like, Oh my gosh,
God.
she was like freaking out. Jen literally was like, all right, bring it on. She threw a rock and she was like, come at me, like, let's go. And then started cussing him out, and I was like, Jen, I loved it. Yeah.
I totally agree.
I love that scene.
I did want to point out, because I've read so much like trivia on this show, it's very cool that the show had so many female writers and directors, and so the fact that they captured those really cool angles that you liked, I believe it was a female director for this episode, which was very cool. And I read somewhere that they shot the scene where Jen takes the golf club to the car like 15 times, and every time she would get back in the car, she would just start like crying because it was so like emotionally heavy. Like, not even, it was just a lot. Like, if you smash a car, like, I get it. Like, that's a lot of release.
You're conjuring something.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really cool articles. I think BuzzFeed did like 37 things to know, and so I'm like, ooh, let's read all of them. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. And then finally, this episode ends on the sort of ominous scene where Jen helps Judy take all of her stuff into the storage space, which is right next to her storage space, which has a little something she does not want Jen to find out about. Yeah, were you guys as nervous as I was during that?
I just want to know who picked the number. Like, I mean, if they were both there together and she picked, you know, because I've taken out storage units, usually you can kind of pick, or I mean, it's just coincidence, because I'm like, if you have a chance to pick, I would suggest something and be like, hey, what about this one? It's like
maybe
really
the
far
one
away.
like the other time.
Yeah, come on, you know, help her out. So I just want to know, how did that happen? But yeah, I was very nervous for her. And then we find out the other new bit of news.
Tell us.
That Steve was in the car.
Oh, snap.
Oh, shoot. Oh my god. I was like, oh, so this is what's gonna happen every episode. At the end, apparently we're gonna find some like a new piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So now
like a scavenger hunt.
It's engaging. It makes you want to watch like right away, because I'm like, I want to know. But
it's very bingeable. Like, it's all the cliffhangers. So you're like, well, I guess I'm not sleeping tonight. Like, I guess we're just binging this whole thing.
There's no slow moment in the show.
There really
That's
is not.
For sure.
It's amazing. So that kind of wraps up the main plot lines, but we are not done yet. We actually have a really, really cool game for you guys. Mia, take it away.
Yes. So, everybody, we are going to play a little game we created called Dead or Tread.
Incredible.
Nice.
Oh!
Yeah!
Oh my
I
gosh.
love this.
I'm just like really embracing my inner Jen right now.
We are Jen.
Love that for us.
Okay, so, things are about to get weird. So, we're going to basically take some moments from the show, from the first episode and the second episode.
Let's do it.
And they're the scenarios that happened, and we're just going to kind of go through whether they'd be dead to us, if they did it to us, or if we'd move forward but tread lightly in the friendship. So,
I'm obsessed with this game, by the way. This is
I
genius.
love this so much. This is so fun. Okay, so first, Jen going off on Judy. So, if that happened to you, like Jen, you know, she was kind of like very angry, not kind of, very angry, aggressive, and basically, let's say you lied about something to your friend and they went off on you. Would you guys be upset about it? Was it warranted? What do you think?
I mean, if I like Judy, if I knew I did it wrong, then I wouldn't feel bad. I would tread lightly, because like I do deserve it, because I did mess up. You know, if it's justified, I feel like I wouldn't, you know, she wouldn't be dead to me. So.
Yeah, I want to say tread as well. However, like, I feel like I'm a very sensitive person, so I don't know. I feel like I'd just be so upset, like because that was so intense. Like, she's right, it scared me. But, I mean, objectively, I want to say that I would tread, because I know that I was in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I'd tread too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
For sure.
If it was like an innocent mistake, then yeah, but.
Yeah, that was a big doozy. All right, so this is one of my favorite ones. This is a hot topic. Jen moving forward with selling Steve's house after they reconcile things, Judy and Steve. So if your best friend sold your ex's house,
Well, they're not really
dead
best
to you. Yeah, new best friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's still like probation period, I guess. Probation friends.
Probation friends.
I would tread. I wouldn't, because I should know better, that I should probably like kind of, we're not together anymore. You know, so it's been a few months, you know, it's not really your house anymore, so I feel like you can't be that upset. You can be upset a little bit, but not dead to me upset, so. Yeah.
I would say tread as well, just because she did it in a moment where she was obviously feeling very, very emotional. Like, she probably wouldn't have done it, you know, if she had encountered it, you know, a
That's
day
true.
later after she had known the truth. So I think I would say tread just for that reason, because I'd be like, okay, like it was in a moment where we were not on great terms. She was in a very emotionally vulnerable place, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Taylor, I'm like, oh, she's gonna start crying.
Guys, okay, I'd have to say dead to me.
Oh, wow.
Like straight up, like if you're my
Cutting
good
it off.
friend, yeah, like if you're my good friend, and I went through this horrible, horrific trauma with this guy, and I'm like still in love with him and trying to like cut ties, but like I still love him, and then even after you have the chance to back out, like the next thing she could have been like, oh, like just kidding, and then you move forward with it, like that's messed up to me.
That's a good point.
But then just as a viewer watching the show, I'm also like, I get Jen's side too, because I mean, you don't know this girl kind of yet, so.
Yeah,
But
it's
I would say dead to me.
so many sides to like each of these scenarios.
Somebody, Glovis Jomo said, love games, you guys are cute. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And the Heavenly Gal 101, hi, she's my friend. Great panel, loved hearing all your opinions on this intriguing and unique show.
Yes, and play along too. Tell us what if it'd be dead to you or if you
Yes.
tread lightly. So we'd love to know.
Oh, and then Spare Me or Sorrow said that Abe is the MVP.
He is. He's the best
Four
character. I'm
customers
telling
for
you.
a T-shirt. We love it. We gotta make this happen.
The
Who
actual
do we talk
bomb.
to?
That should be the actual shirt. Abe is the MVP. Like, that's
It's
what it
true.
should say. Yeah.
I love
Facts
it.
only.
So, you have another one?
Yes, one last
more.
one.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Jen letting Judy move in without consulting the kids, and they're going through this grief.
Dead. If I was the child, like if there was just some random, like, and especially the fact that it's like the guest house where your dad did all his music and that was kind of his space. Like, if I was Charlie, I agree with him, honestly, at least at the beginning before I knew Judy.
Yeah,
Shoot. Oh, that's hard.
it's hard.
Because it would be, I'd probably feel the same way too. Like at first it'd be like dead to me, but then it's like once I get to know her story, I'd probably feel a little bit more sympathy, but you know, and maybe like, oh, it would have been nice to know. But then also she's the mom, she's in charge, and they're children, so it's like,
But the babysitter.
Oh yeah. Yikes.
I don't know. If it was like her husband, then yeah, consult with your husband. If she was, you know, obviously if he was still there. But when it's your kids, it's like they can't have a say in everything.
Woman in the
I'm a little
house.
tougher.
It's a safe space. It's a
You
safe
know?
space. Yeah.
That's true.
I would say probably tread lightly. It's almost like if it's your parents, you don't really have a choice, which is unfortunate if you're a minor. But that does, like, I do think that was pretty messed up not to be like, hey, are you okay? Where are you at mentally? Like, would this be okay? But at the same time, you have to trust in some ways, like, as your parent, like, if they trust this person's good.
Yeah, like she said, she you know, she says that she thinks she's a good judge of character. So if she didn't think that, you know, that person is safe around her kids, then like she her kids are safe to be around that person, she probably wouldn't have let them there in the first place. So that's why it's like ultimately it's like her decision. So.
Yeah.
Which is what's so ironic about this entire thing.
So much. And it's
Oh,
just, there is so much gray area. Like, I feel like the fact that we could debate all the scenarios, like, just proves how amazing the writing is. And, like,
Yes.
the fact that we're on board for everything that happened, even if we have, you know, different personal opinions sometimes, is just phenomenal. So thank you so much for that amazing game. We are unfortunately running very, very short on time, so we are going to cut it off here. But, guys, don't even worry. Like, you don't even have to wait a whole week for us to come back, because we are going to be back this Sunday at, I believe, 3 o'clock?
Yeah,
3 o'clock Pacific time. So definitely tune in for that. We're going to be discussing episodes 3 and 4. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Instagram at More Than You Think 7, and I'm also on the Lunatics after show in like an hour. So
Incredible.
Amazing. On Instagram, I am yours truly, Mia, like a signature on a thank you card. And on
cute.
Twitter, I am Hot Mess Mia because it's a hot mess over there.
I love it. Thank you guys so much again. You guys can find me on Twitter at alphabet_Ann and on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_. We will see you on Sunday. Misery Loves Company. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.